Hey, so today I wanted to tell you about my book, Little Brother. You can see the front cover there, and there's the back. It's a shorter book. So what can I tell you about this one? Okay, so this is about a girl named Leslie Adams, and she's a regular girl, kind of a tomboy, and she goes to a birthday party very early on in the story. And at the birthday party, she's kind of pushed into a situation where she has to kiss a boy in like a spare room. And while in that room with the boy, she has a kind of manic episode and she ends up killing him. And that starts a kind of journey in her life to like trying to forgive herself for what happened. And then it becomes this like what I describe as a coming of age body horror novel. And I guess what I could tell you about this one is that I love this story. I think it's just a nice exploration of this character. But what inspired it was I just was thinking a lot about the idea that when you're a child, if you're like 11, 12, or 13, and you kill somebody, whether it's an accident or even if you do it on purpose, society kind of gets you in and out of jail within like 5 or 6 years, and everyone encourages you to kind of turn over a new leaf. And I thought, how fascinating is that? We never see that in horror stories where it's like the murderer has to kind of forgive his or herself for murdering. And I just thought that's interesting, this juxtaposition of like, what would it look like if your main character killed somebody on page like 10 or 15, and then the process of what would happen in real life of like getting on with your life, growing up, kind of living with this burden of having done something unspeakable. And then the whole world is saying, you got to get over it. You got to get over it. What's in the past is in the past, because that's what happens. Like there's so many famous examples. There's those 2 kids in London who killed another kid, and they went on, they changed their names and they have new identities. Even Edmund Kemper, the serial killer, killed his grandmother when he was like 12 or something like that. And then they let him out and they said, you got to get on with your life. I thought that was fascinating to make that your main character. And then there's another aspect of the story that spoils things a little bit. So if you want to go in blind, I would just stop listening to me right now if you haven't already. But there's another aspect of this that's like a medical horror story. And I remember watching The Exorcist, the version you haven't seen. And in the extended edition of The Exorcist, she goes back, Regan's mother goes back to the hospital like one extra time. And I remember thinking to myself as I was watching this is like, The Exorcist as a book and as a movie is very dismissive of like the medical industry. It's very much like these guys didn't have the answers and they kind of led the main characters down the wrong path because they didn't really have a medical explanation for what was happening to this poor young girl. And then I remember thinking to myself, I had the thought right there, I said, what if the doctors did have the answer to what was happening here? And that's all I'll say is that I very much wanted to craft a story that was about doctors being the priests instead of priests being the priests in The Exorcist. So this very much is a book that I would describe as The Exorcist with surgeons. And I think it's very, very good. I mean, I'm biased, but I do. I think it's one of my better books, and I think it's a very touching story, and it means a lot to me, and I hope it would mean a lot to you if you check it out. So it's Little Brother. You can find it on Amazon by typing Little Brother Adam Costco. Thanks so much.